Hey, what's going on, you guys? Jay here, and welcome back to the channel. It's been a significant amount of time since we produced any content, around 4 months to be precise. I want to give everybody a quick, sharp breakdown as to not drag this out. I effectively had some real common corrective surgery on my lower back, and this was to fuse two discs together. There was a complication during the surgery, and it left me paralyzed, mostly from head to toe. I could barely even talk at the very initial stage. Now, what that left me with is a period of learning to walk, talk, and do everything again, and really recouping, and then going ahead, trying to get those two discs fused together. That's all done and dusted now. I am back on my feet. I'm trying to get back into YouTube, but what I've been doing is daily live streams, and that's going to be from Monday to Friday. So if you want to catch me during those, they're normally around lunchtime here in the UK. They'll run for like 1 to 2 hours, and I'll try getting at least one video out a day if possible. But we're in a sticky situation. Things didn't really pan out. We put a lot of money into the Lunk Pump Fund, Lunk Swap. We run as a total non-profit, so things are a little bit touch and go for me at the moment. And yeah, I just don't want to let you guys down in any way, shape, or form any more than I already have, being gone for so long. What I didn't want from everybody was the sympathy vote, kind of like what I was getting originally when I first broke my back. Now that we've cleared that up, we've got that out of the way, let's really go in and talk about what's been going on briefly. And looking from outside in the looking glass, as we say, things are just kind of samey. USTC repeg ideas, possible upgrades, and we're stuck in this perpetual loop of effectively nothing. The upgrades get us nowhere. They're not going to create any price fluctuations. No one's really going to be able to understand them or the substantiality of them aside people in our ecosystem. And this is kind of, again, the whole looking glass looking in. So what I was doing prior to my exit was really tracking down all of these ghost funds, if you want to call them that, but funds that belong to TFL, and TFL now being defunct. These funds, from my perspective, are ghost funds, and they could do a lot of good. We've already gone in and we've burnt a lot of the assets that are readily available. But yeah, me as an individual, I'm only a small person in this ecosystem, and there's only so much I can do. But what I'm going to do is carry on pursuing the locating of these assets, and then trying to get validators and the community to understand and see the legal documents, look at the final judgment, and understand they either need to come back to the ecosystem or they need to be burnt entirely. We do have a lot of information out there when it comes down to the security of these ghost assets and anything that was available in trial exhibit P301. And Chris Armani definitely said it best. They simply do not know who has access to any of those wallets. And that was the idea behind moving all of the LFG funds for the SEC, to ensure that no one else was going to be able to gain unfettered access to those funds. We don't have the liberty of having that happen. So yeah, we're still at risk of some kind of crazy event of someone getting access to a substantial amount of LUNC coins, whether it's on a CEX or on chain. Who knows? But that's not a day that I would rather sit and wait to happen. Instead, you really want to go down the secure route. Now, the article that I'm bringing up here is probably like 2 to 3 months old, and I thought this was quite interesting. It really brought my rifle sights, if you will, back onto the scope of locating all of these ghost assets. And this article stating that around 1.5 billion still sits in the ruins of firms like FTX, Terraform, Celsius, and BlockFi. And if you scroll down, it actually states that there's not much that actually remains with Terraform Labs. And looking at this chart here, they're really saying it's not much that's left and tied to TFL. And this is completely wrong, because what they're doing is using a system called Arkham Data, and Arkham will really have access to things like GitHub and wallets that were created for certain modules or certain things. They are publicly available, and things like Arkham Data will crawl for that. So according to Arkham Data, there's around $2.6 million that is just sat there remaining belonging to TFL. And this is really good because all of the wallets and locations that I looked at for this $2.6 million do not correlate or do not show up in any other data that I've got or that is out there on the internet. So effectively, that's another $2.6 million on top of everything that we're about to go through in the next couple of minutes. So this in itself is good news. You know, it tells us that there is funds out there, but the depth and the complexity of this situation is far greater than just an article saying that the funds are there, they're defunct, because it just doesn't cover the severity of this situation. And the severity of the situation is pretty great, it's pretty substantial. And I'm going to be doing a few more videos to really break this down for you guys and to not bombard you with too much. But what we're looking at specifically now is going to be Trial Exhibit P301. And if you're a long-time member of the channel, you're someone who returns, you like, you're subscribed, then you would know that we went through, we took this evidence and we went in and we found every asset that was tied to every wallet. And then we went ahead and had that all written out. We then went through and we began chasing Anchor and Mirror Protocol. We put the proposals forward to have those assets burnt, and luckily they passed at the time. It was very fortunate, and we saw the majority of these assets in orange and green here on the right hand side destroyed. The shuttle bridge was then destroyed, and what that left us with is not many wallets. The wallets listed in red is what we're going to be speaking about, and the ones listed in yellow is what is my next video is going to be about. So keep an eye out for that one. You'll really like it, especially if you're into the Binance side of the whole LUNC stuff. Now, Project Dawn is something that DK himself created, I think, a couple of months before the crash itself in May 2022 actually happened. And it was this huge project. It had all of these amazing things it was going to do. But what's important for us right now is none of that's going to happen. DK is in prison. He's pled guilty, and Project Dawn is no longer happening. Now, like I said, there's a lot of these ghost funds out there, but these final 8 wallets are very important. Now, previously, I had proposed that we should go ahead and burn these assets, and I still believe that is a possible route that we should take. It's identical to what we did with the Mirror and Anchor Protocol assets. But considering everything that's been going on and the whole samey thing, the situation that surrounds USTC and the people that do want to bring a repeg or some kind of fix for USTC to give it intrinsic value and drive value back into USTC, I think this is very useful for anybody like that. And if you could get everybody on side to burn these assets, well, there's no difference between burning them and actually sending them to a new pool, for example, like a community pool that's dedicated to the repegging or restoring of USTC. The reason why I say this is virtually and physically there's no difference, because all you do when you burn these assets is put in the dead wallet address. So it's just as simple as changing the destination address for these funds in that proposal. So it's not something that is out of reach. It's not something that isn't doable. This is 100% doable, but the decision's really going to lie with I'd say the community, but the validator, the voting power has changed significantly. So I don't know who's really responsible at the moment and who can really drive proposals to pass. Is it going to be the community? Is it going to be a group of specific validators, as we've seen previously? So you just don't know. But the one thing we can all agree on is these funds do need to be repatriated. And what I've been thinking to myself is, why not go the extra mile? Why not, instead of just going, okay, once we actually have dealt with these final 8 wallets, what is left? Well, a significant amount. We've got 313 BTC sat there in the LFG reserve, right? There's also 1,075 BTC sat in one wallet that the SEC have control of specifically. So there's a lot more funds that could be repatriated for our ecosystem. And that's kind of the idea and concept of the repatriation program. And it might sound silly to you, but from my perspective, we should be going out and chasing all of these ghost assets. Why? Because it's in the realms of reality. It's something that we actually have control of as a community. So like I say, keep an eye out for my next video, because if we are successful with Project Dawn, we can get the validators to agree to one or the other, this list isn't done. Now, I did a live stream today. I mentioned about a guy that I've been speaking to that works at one of the local universities in the town that I'm living in at the moment. And essentially, he believes he has a method, okay, to find the wallets that correlate to memos on CEXs. There's no way to currently crawl such data like this, but you can do that on chain with things like Terra Finder, Link Dash Finder, Galaxy Finder, any kind of finder tool. We're looking at the equivalent, but for a CEX. Well, this tells me we could figure out, for example, what is in the Binance deposit wallet that belong to TFL. And you're going to say, well, how do you know this? Well, if I highlight this wallet here, this is the Binance deposit wallet. So we know, according to trial exhibit P301, that some LUNC or USTC or both exists on Binance that belonged to TFL. Well, then you start to say to yourself, well, over the course of the past 4 years, around 1.6 trillion of the LUNC on Binance simply hasn't moved. It's not been sold, swapped, staked, anything hasn't moved. Why? Why? And then why would the Binance hot wallet show up on trial exhibit P301? These are the questions that I'm asking, and those are the things that I would like answers to. But let me know what you guys think. If there's anything you really want covered on the channel, I'm just going to throw this in at the end because, like I said, we're taking a different outlook. I'm going to try shifting from non-profit to making enough money to turn the wheels and actually do more and develop more. So if you want to support the channel a little bit more than coming here, subscribing, liking, doing all of those things, dropping a comment, we have reopened the Patreon. I'm going to be doing a lot of extras for those who dive into this, portfolio updates. I'll be doing specific members only videos once a week for you guys. So yeah, it's there, it's available. And aside that, just stay safe, stay humble, stay aware. I haven't said that for a long time, and I'm going to catch you in the next one.